Okay, in this section I'm going to discuss how to use Gaussian's elimination to find x, y, and z. So this is kind of a matrix, and if you read my notes, you see how to set up the matrix, I hope. So we're using the constant coefficient, so 1, 2, 1, 8, 2, 1, negative 1, 1, 1, 1, negative 2, and negative 3. Notice if there's no number in front of the variable, that's a 1 there. It's an invisible 1. So that's how I would set my form up. Remember the form we want to have is, we should have it looking like, and I have put that on your chart for you. You want to have a 1 in the first slot, and then goes down. See, we were thinking 1, 0, 0, 0, then we're going to have a 1, 0, then 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. And the zeros at the end don't have to be zeros, but they could be numbers. So we're trying to get it to look like that nicely. That's already a 1, so we're not, our first step is already taken care of for us. We want this guy to be a 1, so we're not going to change that right now. All right, so there's a couple different ways to jump into this. You might want to try to get rid of the 2 in the second row. So again, this is row 1, row 2, row 3, if I do some numeration. So if I maybe want to get rid of this 2 here, possibilities are I could multiply this row here by negative 2 and then add these 2, and that will make this 0, so that would work. So I am going to do that. So my first move is I'm going to do negative 1 times R1, and then I'm going to add it to R2. Okay, I'll just write it up above here and then I'll rewrite it. So if I multiply by, I'm sorry, I want to multiply by negative 2, right? Yeah. So I'm going to multiply by negative 2, so that's going to give me a negative 2. That's going to give me negative 4, negative 2, negative 16. All right, so I'm going to take all those and I'm going to add them to the other row, so I will write that. So I got negative 2, minus 4, minus 2, minus 16. Right, negative 2, negative 4, negative 2, negative 16, yep. And I'm going to add that to the row 2, which is 2, 1, negative 1, 1. Add down, there's my 0. Negative 3, negative 3, negative 15. All right, now my new, I'll write it in red. I didn't change my first, so I got 1, 2, 1, 8. I changed my second row now to 0, negative 3, negative 3, negative 15, and I didn't change the third row, so I got this. Okay, so I got a 0 in that spot, which is great. So there's a couple of things I can do. I can start working on this 3 if I want. I can try to get rid of that 1 if I want now. So I think that's kind of the easier thing to do, is get rid of that 1. So to get rid of the 1, I'm just going to, I'm going to multiply this whole row by negative 1, and then I'm going to add row 1 and row 3, and that will get rid of that 1. So that one, that is going to be, I'll multiply row, what did I say, 3 by negative 1, and then I'm going to add row 1. I could have multiplied row 1 by negative 3, 1, 2. Okay, so that's going to be, I'm not changing the first, so I got 1, 2, 1, 8, and then I'm multiplying that by the last row by negative 1, so it's going to be negative 1, 2, and 3. And that's going to give me a 0, 1, 3, 11. So I have, let's see, so I didn't change the first, so I got 1, 2, 1, 8. I didn't change the second, so I get this. Change the third now to 1, 3, 11. Okay, so now I have that. Let's see, so I can try to get rid of, I can try to make the -3. So I can make this -3 a 1. And that would be just by multiplying the second row by 1/3. So I'm going to write that over here. So I'm going to go row 2 times -1/3. Okay, so I'm just going to do my new, so now I have 1, 2, 1, 8, and then I'm going to have 0 still, and then times -1/3 is 1, times -1/3 is 1, times -1/3 is 5, and I'm not changing this, guys, so 0, 1, 3, 11. Okay, so my first row and second row are perfect. I need to make row 3, I need to get this guy now to be 0, and then I need to get this guy to be 1. So let's take care of this first. So if I want to get this to be 0, I can multiply this whole row by -1 and then add the 2. So let's do that. So I'm going to go row 2 times -1, then plus row 3. So row 2 would be 0, -1, -1, -3, and then add it 0, 1, 3, 11. That's going to give me 0, 0, 2, and 8. Right there. All right, so I'm going to erase some of this junk I have here now. Let's see. So I have some space and it won't let me erase. Okay, so I guess I'm not erasing. All right, so let's chunk this over here. So now I'm going to have, I didn't change, I got 1, 2, 1, 8. And then I have 0, 1, 1, 3. Is it a 3 or a 5? That's just great. It's a 5. And then I have 0, 0, 2, 8. Okay. Now I got to get that 2 out of there. So I'm going to multiply my last row by, so I'm going to go row 3 times 1/2. And then I'll have my matrix made. So final matrix is going to be 1, 2, 1, 8, 0, 1, 1, 5, and then it's going to be 0, 0, and then it's going to be 1. 8 times 1/2 is 4. And that is my next matrix. Okay, so next up, we will solve that. Okay, so here's the matrix answer from the last problem, and this is how we would actually get x, y, and z. So the last problem is my z part, so that refers back to, not that, that goes back to z is equal to 4. Okay, then I go up 1. Now that has my y and my z in it, so that would be y plus z equals 5. And then my top one would have x, y, and z in it, so that would be x plus 2y plus z is equal to 8. All right, so I already have my z. So I'm going to take my z and I'm going to substitute it into the equation above. So obviously that's pretty easy to see what y is. So my y would be 1. All right, now I have my z and my y, so now I'm going to plug that in. So now I'd go x plus 2 times 1 plus 4 is equal to 8. Okay, now I'm going to use that, everything on that. Okay, so x plus 6 is equal to 8, so x is 2. So I have all 3 answers. That's how I would get it. Takes a lot of problem solving, but that's the idea. Okay, let's try another one using elimination. Okay, so I set this up already. Notice there's no, in the second equation, there's no x, so I put a 0 in the x slot. And in the third equation, there's no y, so there's a 0 in the y slot. So this actually is set up to be a little easier. This one's a little easier than the last one, it looks like. Okay, so remember this is my x, this is my y, this is my z when we do this. Okay, so remember we want zeros in, let's see, so we want to start with a 1 in this position. So bam, we're set with that one. Okay, we want a 0 here, so it looks like we're set there, and we want a 1 here, so it looks like we're set there. Okay, so now my job is I have to make this a 0, and I have to make this a 1, and then I'll be done. So this one's definitely a lot shorter than the last one. Okay, so to make this guy 0, I think what I would want to do is I can multiply this whole line by -1, and then add it to the first row, and that would get 0 in this slot. Okay, so if I was going to write that, I am going to take, so this is R1, R2, R3. So I'm going to take and multiply R3 by -1, and then I'm going to add it to R1. So that's going to give me, R1 is 1, 1, 2, 5. If I multiply R3 by -1, it's going to be -1, 0, 1, and 0. I'm going to add down, I'm going to change row 3, and then I have 0, 1, 3, 5. Okay, so my first adjustment is 1, 1, 2, 5, and then I'm not changing the second row. And the third row I'm going to change to this guy now. So 0, 1, 3, 5. Okay, so now I am looking in good shape. I've got a 1 in the first slot, I got a 0 here, and I have a 0 here. That's good. I have a 1 here, which is what I want to have, but now I need this to be a 1. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing over again. I'm going to multiply, I'm going to do a similar concept here. I think I'm going to multiply R3 by -1 again. That leads me to think we should have done something else before. And I'm going to add it to row 2 this time. Okay, so row 2 is 0, 1, -2, 0. Row 3 would be 0, -1, -3, -5. I'm going to add down. So I have 0, 0, -5, and -5. Okay, so now I got 1, 1, 2, 5, didn't change it. Not going to change the second row. And the third row is now what we just wrote, 0, 0, -5, -5. Okay, almost done. I need a 1 in this spot. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to multiply this whole row by -1/5. Because I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal. So I'm going to do 1/5, and I want it to be negative, times row 3. I'm not going to change, and then I don't have to add it to anything, so I'm going to just jump right in and do that one. So that's 1, 1, 2, 5. Not changing, 1, -2, 0, and then I'm going to multiply by 1/5. So 0, 0, that's going to be 1, and then that's going to be 1. Okay, so I now have my matrix. This is in the form I want. Again, I wanted a 1 here, I wanted a 0 here, I wanted a 0 here, I wanted a 1 here, and I wanted a 0 here, and I wanted a 1 here. So I adjusted all that. Now I should be able to write it out. So my next step will be, let's solve for this matrix. Okay, so let's solve for this matrix. So again, where I would start is at the very last column row here. So that's always going to be my z, my last. So remember, this is x, y, z's. Okay, so that means z is 1. So I already answered one answer. Okay, then the next one's going to be y minus 2z is equal to 0. And then my top thing will have all three of them, so that would be x plus y plus 2z is equal to 5. Okay, so one answer is right there. So now I'm going to take that and plug it into that. So that would give me y minus 2 times 1 is equal to 0. So y minus 2 is equal to 0, so y has to be 2. Okay, now I'm going to take those two and plug them into the original equation, or the top equation. So now that's going to be x plus 2 plus 2 times 1 equals 5. So x plus 4 equals 5. So that means x is also 1. Okay, so I could take those and plug those back into my original equation and check it if I wanted, into my original 3 equations if I wanted. I'm not going to do that right now, but those are my 3 answers using the elimination idea.